Enjoy, Halka. Have a nice event.
You too, David. Let's have a good flight.
Good. I see we have some people already there.
I'm a co-pilot, you know.
I see we have already people joining, so welcome to the event. I see there are already 12 people with us. So just for you to be aware of, at the moment you are muted and you can't share the videos. So because it's the webinar function, and we start in a few minutes, we just give a few more people to join, some time to join. And meanwhile, you are already here. We don't want you to punish you for being in time. We would like to ask you one thing before we kick it off, a little icebreaker. If you could maybe put into the chat a number, because we, Halka and I, are in Prague, and we would like to know from you, how many kilometers are you away from Prague? If you want, you can cheat. You can go to Google Maps, but you don't have to. You can also just give a rough estimate. So do not share the city where you are from. Just put into the chat how many kilometers you are away from Prague. What's your estimate? So for those of you who have been traveling here, you might remember approximately. I see the first comments there. Thank you. I like it that you also participate, Halka.
Yeah, I did. I just launched it. So we have 350, 1,350,
wow.
1,000.
So I'm a bit outside Prague, so that I should be also fair here to say it. So
okay, David 20.
All right. Another very close. So we see another 1,345. All right, good. So for those who just joined, please put into the chat how many kilometers you are away from Prague. And I will also give a small conclusion why we do this activity.
So I wondered, Christine answered in Q&A, approximately 5,000.
All right, so that is a nice big question mark we have here. So where are you? All right, good.
And from Michael to David, 25,000 from New Zealand. My goodness.
Yeah, and it's nice to have you on board, Michael. So nice that you managed it from there. I know it is 8 o'clock in the morning for you. So I hope you have a strong coffee.
We have 800 from Julio. We have Satine 700, Lena 1,300. Christine is in Barbados. Wow.
All right. So for those who just joined, feel free to add the kilometers, how far you are away from Prague.
Barcelona.
Good. And if you see, that's now the activity, if you see someone is very close by with your number, that might be a direct neighbor. So when we do webinars, it's very difficult to contact each other and to do some activity together. So feel free to direct message that person that is very close to you, having the same distance. Of course, you can be on the complete opposite in terms of directions, right? But maybe you have someone who's very close next to you. So you have one person in the small world directly close by. And that is also a very good starting point for us, because we like to say that things have been changed a lot over the past 2 years, and without change, we would not be able to sit here and do this activity with you and for you. So therefore, it's kind of an opening moment. Before Halka and I introduce ourselves and we officially kick it off, I would like to introduce to you a nice tool which we have used earlier in a few events before, which is called Mentimeter. I would like to ask you to use your second device. I hope you have seen my message I sent earlier today. It can be just a phone, and you just go to menti.com. I can also share with you I shared with you in the chat. So it looks like this, menti.com. You can also use a separate, you can just use a tab browser if you want to use it from your laptop, but preferably it would be a phone. So just go to menti.com, and I will share with you also the code, and I will also add the code into the chat. So you can also use it actually through a link. I can put quickly the link into the chat. That's even easier. If you click on that link, you will directly get there. And for those who want to use the code, it's 6828 and 4529. That is the code for menti.com. And I would like to ask you to go directly there. And before we kick it off, I would like to ask you one question already there. If there's one thing you are grateful about today, what would that be? You should be able to see the question now in front of you. You can even add more than one thing. If you are grateful about more things, feel free to add more of them. So up to 3 things you can add here. I would straight also share my screen with you that you can see it. All right, so you should be able to see now. Yes. Heike, can you confirm? Can you see the overview of the question?
I can see the overview. I
Perfect.
also can see the number. I'm already answering the questions also with the participants, so it looks like it's working.
All right, I see the first comments there, so thank you for that. So for those who just joined the event, we just did not introduce ourselves. It's just to introduce you, menti.com. Please go to menti.com. You can see it on the screen, and to share with us, what are you grateful about today?
So we have sunshine, sun. I had a good seminar today. Somebody is grateful for this moment. My colleagues. Health. We are also
Very
growing in the number of people, of participants. I follow just the participants number, so we are already 23. And 6 people answered so far the Mentimeter. 7, so it's growing. Being alive. So for those who are coming now, you can go to your mobile device. You put menti.com. You put the number, which is the code on the top of this page, 68284529. Exactly this one. And you just answer the questions. What are you grateful for today? A previous investment, we have a new one. Well-being, have woken up. It's probably from a person where there is morning, because we have 8 o'clock in the evening. Workout, somebody did the workout. Fantastic.
All right, perfect. So thank you so much for that. So I think we have a kind of a number to start with the introduction. Heike, what do you think? Should we go for the introduction?
Let's go for introduction, exactly.
All right, we do that in a very entertaining way because you do not know us so much, and we like to do events personally, which is always a challenge with webinars. But let's use again menti.com. You might know the game, which is called 2 Truth, 1 Lie. You can also call it Identify the Lie. I would like to share with you the next page, which shows actually an introduction about Heike. And maybe you want to start from here, Heike, to introduce yourself and also to read out loud what are the 3 things there about you, and the people have to riddle. You have to kind of find out what is the truth and what is the lie. There's 2 things that are true, 1 thing is a lie, and we will also share the results.
So people are already guessing, by the way. So believe me or not, but I was, when I was much younger, in the national team of modern rhythmic gymnastic. Truth or lie? The next one is, I have 28 years of experience in human development business, especially management development business. True or lie? And the last one, I am fond of skydiving because this is a maximum feeling of freedom that one can have.
Again, true. 2 of them are true. 1 of them is the lie. Please identify the lie, and then we will also share. I see more answers coming in now.
And David, what does it mean? Blue pink and
it's just a
red.
color code. It's just a color code. So it's no, I mean, there's no code behind that. So it's just a different color to see it better or nicer.
So what do people do? Are they they say that this is true and this is false?
So you pick the one that you believe is the lie. There's one thing you can pick, and that's the one that is the lie.
Ah, okay. So now we know how to do it exactly.
So identify the lie. Good.
Identify the lie.
We have already a few people. All right.
So we have somebody answering in the chat, as I can see. Jan, number 1, probably, so that the 1 is the lie.
All right.
10 people answering already.
Heike, would you like to give the conclusion? It's a very tight race over there.
Yes, okay. So the first 2 ones are actually the truth. I was in a national team of modern rhythmic gymnastic in the social Czechoslovakia in the past, and I have even won some medals in modern rhythmic gymnastic. I'm fond of moving. I actually am in a human development business for 28 years. I have started in 1994. So is it correct? 26. So it's a lie. People has true. We didn't count well, but it's a long time anyway. And I'm not fond of skydiving. I like freedom. That's true, but I have never tried skydiving. So that's it, David.
All right, thank you so much. All right, good. So the next one, that is about me. So you can see 3 comments again there. Again, 2 of them are true. 1 of them is a lie. So what would you say? First one, my grandfather was a gravedigger and a night watchman. The second one is, I have a dog that loves avocados and hates nachos. Third one is, I worked with murderers in a jail for rehabilitation and reintegration. What would you say is the lie? The first, grandfather. Second, the dog. Third, I worked with murderers. What is the lie?
It's funny how the columns are going up and down.
They're moving. Yes, yes.
So we have already 7 people answering.
Feel free if you have any technical question or issue with the menti.com for any reason, you can also can put the answer into the chat. Menti, of course, is a way to, it's anonymous, so we can't see who says what. I should also say that. All right, good. I see already some answers. Perfect. So we have 10 people who voted, something like this, or 9. Good. So I can share with you. So the first one, that my grandfather was a gravedigger night watchman. True. Yeah, that is true. So indeed, most of you are right. So that is that was in the year 1918, and in the time 1938, he was still busy with that when he was very old. And he had both jobs, actually 3, because he was initially a carpenter. And it was not enough money, so he did that. And I have some connection to that, because there's something about night watchman. You will hear that in a moment. Then the second one, that I have a dog that loves avocados but hates nachos. I love dogs. I love avocados. I hate nachos, but avocados, so it's not the dog. And the third one, indeed, that's also correct. I used to work with, indeed, in the jail. I had a project for quite a while, working with murderers in a jail for rehabilitation. All right, good, perfect. So that was just a brief introduction about us. And I give you also a little bit of an overview what we will be doing today, of course. With that, I would love to kick it off. Just as a small reminder, in case you have questions, please use the F&A, the Q&A in the section below in the Zoom. If you have any comments that you believe is good to mention, or to chat anything that is relevant to the event here, you can also use the chat. We might ask you here and there to use the chat also for some activity. But if you have a clear question, please do that and ask the question in the Q&A. That would be helpful. Heike, my colleague, is monitoring that, and we always have time to answer your questions. We have something around 60 minutes, and I would like to share also with you what to expect from that time. A little bit less than 60 minutes. We talk about something like 50 minutes by now. All right, so with that, I would like to kick it off and give you a brief overview. When we talk about our topic today, it's about how coaching can save your business. We explore a little bit of a case study. For that, I would like to use, by the way, Canva, which is a very nice tool, because I worked quite a long time with PowerPoint, and it's I find it a bit boring by now. It's not so much. So one part is only the presentation, which is the business case review. And then we also have a bit of a story for you, so kind of a nice metaphoric story to connect to our topic. We will explore together what how coaching can help us and how it helped me within my business. So it's kind of a business case study. Just to give you some certain agenda points here, you do not see them here. I would like to call them walking points. The business review will be part of that with a bit of engagement. Then there comes the story. Then we also have a bit of a magic moment to connect coaching with magic. And then we talk also about a belonging at the end. And I will share with you how our team got together in the times of crisis to kind of create a feeling of belonging. So that's just a brief overview. There are no points because I love to do the presentation quick, concise, and in a very entertaining way in a story mode. You might have heard about pecha-kucha, that comes from Japan, where the presenter is doing that rather with symbols, so not so much text. Text I have a little bit, but not too much. And also it is more that we have it as a story, that we do not make that too formal. Symbols are also helpful to visualize the things. Pecha-kucha comes from Japan. It's very busy, often used in the times since 10 years, I would say, in Tokyo. There are even pecha-kucha nights. Pecha-kucha means chit-chat, and the book is there to represent the story mode. Often people do that within 20 seconds for one slide only. However, we do also engagement with you during the event, and that's why we do not have that so time restricted. So that's the way how we do that. To give an overview about the team, and there's a subtitle of the event called A Light in the Dark for a Reason. I would like to mention to you that I am indeed a coach. I support people in times of crisis and also do coaching for leadership positions, but I worked quite a while for a big corporation for about 10 years in leadership roles myself. However, I have a big passion, and the passion is something I truly like to live, for medieval history. And some of you might have experienced in the ASW here already 3 events we did, and 2 of them were also kind of virtual, traveling to Prague to represent our forgotten traditions as night watchmen and plague doctors. What all combines us or connects us is the passion for joy. We like to bring fun into the events because we believe that education can be indeed fun. And the coaching approach is really there to empower my team and to connect our individual values to our activities we do. We also like to follow a certain purpose in order to give this glimpse of tradition to people. Also, what helped a lot with the coaching is for the product itself, to do performance coaching and trainings, but also to help us to create challenging goals and also visions. In terms of business, if you're interested in the business itself, before COVID, we talk a bit about that. But before, quick checkpoint with you that you are all engaged. I would like to ask the next question through Menti for you about your passion. What would you say? What are you passionate about? You should see the question coming up now. If you need to refresh the site on Menti, you see it on the top. So I mentioned my passion is the same as for Harka with coaching and supporting and developing people and business, but also my passion for medieval history and tour guiding. What are you passionate about? If there's more than one passion, feel free to put it there. And then I can also, yes, there are the first ones coming. Very good. Are there already some questions in the chat, Harka?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Good. I see the first 3 comments there: cooking, coaching, and nature. All right.
Self-development, fantastic. Discovering music, human design, psychoastrology, wine, music, composition, swimming, innovation, design, flying airplanes, economics, meditation, reading, coaching, learning, economics, composition. 9 people have already answered. Walking.
Good. I see they're flying airplanes. Did you catch that? Flying airplanes.
Yeah.
Some of us are flying airplanes here. I like that.
But
So,
I'm catching also other interesting thing like psychoastrology, you know, or yeah, self-development. I guess people that are coming to this webinar are naturally in curiosity about development of somebody. Swimming we have. I guess a lot of people taking good care of themselves.
very good. So I keep this one here open that you can continue to add a few things, and I will also later on save all the answers and to share them with you within the network of the small world. All right. So with that, I would like to bounce back to the presentation. So you can see here the overview of the business prior times of crisis. So just to let you know that you can see here 2 different numbers, not to make it too difficult, but the types of numbers you see here are the guests of our events and the tours we had. You have to know, in 2017, I started doing that alone. So that's why I was completely on my own. There's not much, but you can see a constant increase. As you probably know, within the tourism sector, you do not compare each quarter by each other. You actually have to check the second quarter, for example, 2018, and you compare it with the second quarter, 2019, because we talk about peak of tourism business. In Prague, we have up to 9.6 million people coming to Prague, but most of the time they're here in the second quarter, some often in the third quarter, but mainly in the fourth quarter. So if you see increases in these times, you can see that the business is growing and going well.
So just David, you know, just a quick accounts so that people can have an overview. If I count well, in 2019, before COVID coming, you had something like 450 guiding tours in Prague. Am I correct? 450 within 1 year.
Yes, indeed, yes, approximately.
Oh, that's a large number of guided tours, isn't it?
Yeah, if you consider our small team, we were 6 people by that time, so it's rather small, but we all do something else over the day, right? So we all have different jobs, so we do that mainly in the evening. But indeed, for that, it's quite a number. Of course, we have a lot of tour providers in Prague, more than 650, I think, by now, different tour agencies. So competing to those, we are very small comparing to those.
Mm-hmm. So now I just see the graph and I see 220, quarter 2, I see 2 zeros. What's happening?
Exactly.
There?
And that's what I wanted to share indeed. So when we talk about the last quarter, 2020, it happened. So we all know what's happening. That's why we have virtual events, or why we had them quite often, also with a small world in that year. But I would like to mention that we indeed lost everything from one day to the other. It was a very critical situation because from a private perspective, I just decided to buy a house. We actually bought a house 2 months before. I also decided to leave my position and my work in the corporate organization with a very secure income to work as freelance, as coach and consultant, but also to focus on my agency of my own business because I have my passion here. So therefore, it was quite a shock. The whole industry, as you know, was in shock and denial. And we knew that we actually did not know what to do at all. What represents the situation quite well is actually the following slide. And probably some more of you have experienced it yourself. It is a slide where you don't see anything, it's dark. Darkness, as you probably know, is kind of for us the uncertainty. We are often afraid of darkness. It triggers one of the oldest fear of humankind, which is fear. We do not know what's happening in the dark. We do not know what's coming up. And the fear of failure and uncertainty wasn't bigger than 2 years ago so far, at least for me. For all of us who were at stake with our business, we're kind of in shock and really in this FFF, fight or flight, or in this freezing mode. Most in the tourism sector, I realized that a lot of people were trying to wait to come back, but we felt that we need to do something in these times of quarantine and isolation. What I would like to highlight is the following, that we came up with an idea. The idea was to move things online. That's not a rocket science. If you think about online activities today, just 2 years ago, we could not find any example of people doing online tours in the streets somehow that were in times of these difficult restrictions happening. There were a few museums who offered virtual events like virtual tours to see 360-degree tour. Also, you have to imagine that we came from a very different background. Our activity was medieval history and we had nothing to do with technology. We have old lanterns that are tailored according to the 17th century with real candles inside. And also in our tours, people could pay the tour the moment they arrived, so in cash, and even with pepper. We even had some people who did that. So with pepper, we do that as a promotion. People can come with pepper. And then we had to move it to a laptop. We were quite concerned about that. But more importantly is the symbol below, the smiley, which is not smiling at all. It represents the fear, again, the fear of certain failure. And we had no clue if this could work or not, since we could not find anyone who did it before, but also we had just a few budget left. We had to issue refunds to more than 90 different private tours. We actually received the money already. So it was a big, difficult situation. However, we also believed that we need to do something. On the right-hand side, you see below, there's this brain. Oh, it can actually even move. Let me move that. I like that. So when we talk about the brain, we wanted to make sure that we remain active. And we have a certain knowledge about neuroscience as coaches. So we know that our brain does not really care if we are physically in the place or not. As soon as we can direct a bit the thoughts, we are able to get emotions. And as soon as emotions kick in, chemistry happens in our body. So we know that we can spread happiness and joy in the living room of people at home. And that was a very compelling goal we had just to make it happen. So that is about this. However, there was always some problem because I have to say that there was the biggest fear of security. I used to teach that security is not a value because for security, you need something for that. You're depending on something. And now it was time to realize myself that I depend a lot on security myself. So I was really scared to use the last budget to move online. That was in end of March, beginning of April 2020. We did a few things, also Halka and I, we met together. We had something we called a light in the dark and a cup of time. We were getting together in the times of crisis to explore ideas, to focus on what is within our control and what we can do. Also, it helped us a little bit to stay connected and to be creative, to do something. Also, Heike shared with me a book, and I'm very grateful for that. And I would like to quote on that because it helped me to fight this fear of failure and the crisis due to the security loss. Before I share with you the book, I would like to quote. The moment you think of security, you are assisting death. I want you to know death does not need your assistance. Death is super efficient. On the other hand, life needs your assistance. If you notice, whatever you do with life, no matter how much you do with life, there's still something more you can do with it. Life needs all your attention and efforts. Death does not need your support. It will anyway happen, and it will happen with absolute efficiency. There's no failure here, as all shall pass. From the book, Death, an Inside Story. But I'm more happy about this subtitle called A Book for All Those Who Shall Die, written by Sadhguru. By the way, a bestseller promoted by the New York Times. So in case if you're interested, we can also share later on the link with you. All right, so that's the quote about security, and that helped me also just to do it and to take that risk of failing. Are there some questions, Heike, from the audience, or would you like to add something?
No, we have still no questions. Mm-hmm. So what was next, David?
So the next
you decided to do this on computer. You decided instead of fearing to go into some action. Why horses?
Yeah, good question. So you can see the horses. To be honest, I'm not such a big fan that horses are pulling the tourists through the streets, and you might be similar to me there. But I share this picture for a good reason, because they have something called distraction blinders. Before I share with you why distraction blinders, I would like to ask you if you could open the chat, and I would like to ask you to put anything into the chat that you associate with the distraction blinders for horses. Why do they have them? There's more than one right answer to that. There's a lot of answer to it. So what would you say? Why do horses get distraction blinders? What would you say? Please feel free to use the chat function, not to use the Q&A, please. And I give it a few more seconds that you can do that. And I can already a bit explore what we did in our team. So we were the ones who were actually not only challenged, but we were also very engaged and also very enthusiastic that we could make a difference. We always got sidetracked by the problems that were happening around us. You have to imagine in our team, we have 6 different nationalities. Almost all of us had problems to travel back to their home countries. And we were also quite isolated ourselves because we had to stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
so David, we have already some answers in the
perfect.
chat. So I would like just to
go ahead.
speak them loud. So the horses have those things just because in the streets they become scared, and without them not. So keep them on the right track, so they go the way you want them to go. Otherwise, horses can be jumpy, and they wear them to keep horse on track. So thank you for all the answers. So David, what is the connection between these things and your story?
Very good. So indeed, thank you for the answers. It is indeed that we actually try to focus on what is within our influence and to focus really on what's ahead of us. So I like this symbol of distraction blinders because we were bombarded by negative news around us. I think it's important to stay alerted and to be aware what's happening. However, almost everywhere in social media and everywhere, it was such a difficult day to get through the day without getting distracted on things that are beyond our control. Maybe slightly to influence that, but not much really. And that's why it was a very big challenge to really focus on what are the next steps. Horses can't see what is around the next corner, but their distraction blinders help them not to get sidetracked, to avoid the noises, but also the things that are happening next to them, and to really focus on their way. So this became kind of a symbol for us in the team to focus really on what's within our control and also to focus on the way that we can see. As a coach, for me, it was very important that I had to change a couple of things myself, also not only when working with clients, but also with my team, to avoid going to long-term visions. Because in the times of crisis, it was very difficult to create long-term visions because we did not even know if we can keep our job next week, or that when we can see our relatives that we love. So it was very difficult to work with clients in both business and life coaching on long-term visions. So we had to do small steps, short-term vision. What's the first thing that you would like to have to change tomorrow, the next week? How does that influence you? And so on. So it was really about small steps. So that's about the story about the distraction blinders. Also in terms of leadership, there was a challenge within the leadership because, so before that, it was really more to empower the people and to support them in that they feel comfortable and confident dealing with big groups. So coaching was really more the performance part. And therefore, I have also here a question to you in menti.com, which is about your leadership style in times of crisis, because for a lot of coaches, it had to change. And if you think about leadership, we do not have to talk about a former leader. You do not have to be like a lead of a team. You can be just lead of your life. Which leadership style do you apply in times of crisis? You can now vote, and I can tell you how it works. You can use for each of those different leadership styles a range from 1 to 10. 1 is not very much, you did not use it much, or you do it a lot, this type of style. So you can give points 1 to 10 for all those different 7 leadership styles. And you should be able to do that. Now, I know it's a difficult question, so I would love to give you a bit of time for that you can do that. And maybe I can also highlight that, so in case there's any question about this, the terminology or the words here, if there's anyone who has some question, happy to answer. And I will hold a bit back to mention what I did
So there are already some answers coming. And innovative and transformation style is the preferable one at the moment. Also followed by coaching, development style, and charismatic influencer style. We also have people-focused, affiliative style, innovation and charismatic influencer, and coaching development style is the highest at the moment. We have already 6 people answering.
Very good.
Now,
Good.
7 people answering.
Yeah.
So innovation, influencing, coaching and development, and people focused.
Very good. I have witnessed in the times of my leadership style, in these times of crisis, that I had to move a lot from this type I used to do before, this democratic style. I had to go more into the individual style, so really to focus on the people, so which is mentioned here as affiliative, which is also quite high here. So I could see myself a lot there. Behind the background, I was more in this transformational style, but also helping the team how to transform themselves to a better version in these times of crisis even, but also the coaching was part. It changed. It was not that performance anymore. It was all about holistic approach. And it was all about how do they feel in the times of crisis. So it was much more life coaching and not connected to any business activities at all in that sense. But as we all know, probably all of you know, that we can't be good working if we do not feel good. So I could see that there was a high need to really spend much more time to focus and to actively listen even more to the people in the team, because that was the most needed in these times of crisis. And some things even stayed like this. So it's something that also changes. There's no wrong and right in that sense, because you might use different types of leadership style according to the situation. So of course you can say it depends. But it's indeed that we see patterns or a sequence of activities based on our experience we do. And often people were struggling when there were crises. You can see it, how people were struggling to lead teams that were working from home. So it was a challenging situation.
So what did you, David, actually do with your team? You talk about your leadership style. So what did you do?
So the most important thing what we did is we moved towards the next generation of doing online events. We did a few things to stay connected, monthly meetings. We gave each other the cup of time. We had often moments of sharing ideas, but also how do we feel? So check-ins were often. We met even more often during the times of crisis. But the more important is that we moved and we actually decided that we start doing online events. The way how it goes, so the way how we started that, I will also share with you that you can see it. So you should be able to see it now. Yes, so you can see now again the Menti. So there you can see that we started to move online. Also considering ourselves to change. And I just have a short example, what I did and what I helped with my team to create a perfect day that was a quarantine edition, because we could see that our values, how we actually worked and how we lived our values was not possible in the times of crisis and isolation and restrictions. So that's just an example. And I like this picture of the oxygen mask that you need to take it first in the plane, because in the moment of the security stress or the crisis, it's important that you help yourself before you can help others. And I realized that if I'm not happy, I can't really help others to become happy themselves. Yeah. So you can see here, the pictures represent my values, like caring and even cooking, working, and family, caring of family. So that's a bit on a personal note, and that helped a lot, and we all did that in the team. But more importantly, we moved online. So you can see it here. We shot a movie from the point of view as a tourist walking behind the plague doctor, which is me, my normal outfit. So in the evening hours. But I was not alone. I had a team of 6 people doing that. And we decided to take the budget we had to rent a professional movie from the camera from the Prague Film Studios. And it was just me and the camera woman behind me, Elena, to shoot this. We got a permission from the city to walk around. What we looked for, I looked for a cooperation partner, and imagine I could not find any. And I mean the big players. We used to have a cooperation since years with companies like Viator, TripAdvisor, Expedia, Booking.com. So all these kind of traveling activities where you can book it, and us, they said, not now, maybe later, we will let you know, or they did not reply at all. So therefore, we had no way to do a cooperation. There was one exception, and that was a controversial company called Airbnb. Not everyone is a fan of those, but they were the ones who actually supported us and our idea to move online. We were in workshops in April 2020 to discuss how we can realize that. And we started with a group of 40 people offering something called online experience. In that time, we were the only ones doing a recorded video to share with live narration. That means we sit at home and we mention everything live we see. For those of you who joined the event, you know already how it works. So that helped us to continue doing the events, and people even paid money for the tickets. We were surprised that it would work, and we could see a lot of open tours. That means a lot of for the target audience in the US, in Asia, but mainly US based. In Europe, we often heard for longer than a year that it's not going to work and it's not happening. So therefore, we were focusing on the areas where we had interest. The way how it looked in terms of the business, so you can see that I just show the first 5 months because it is the same amount of or more guests already than in the whole year 2019. So therefore, it was a big success, and open events means people could just join the event, and regardless where they are, and we could finally what we wanted to do. We could spark joy and fun in the living room of people who could not travel. We had a lot of events, as mentioned here, and of course, it made us happy. And we did very happy events because we were really engaged and very enthusiastic about it. And we were sitting at home doing this, right, when we could not go out at all. Also to share with you that it's quite interesting that we got a call. We had one person in the open tour who asked me to write an article. That was happening quite often, but then we got a call from Airbnb, and they never call without any meetings before, because they mentioned to me, or they asked me if I know who this guest is who also booked this tour. And I said, no, I do not know. And they said, well, it's the person who is a bestseller author for books in the US, but more importantly, he was the last person who had an interview with Steve Jobs. His name is David Polk, and he's quite famous in the area of the US. I did not know that. He had a good event, luckily, he liked it a lot, and he promoted us in the New York Times. Not us, but also a few other experiences in that time. And you can imagine, as of then, it went through the roof. We had a lot of people who contacted us. We could never believe that they would do that. They actually reached out to us from Forbes, the US, also from the Wall Street Journal. We were named there. And as I mentioned, New York Times, Vogue, radios, even one from New Zealand, since we have some people from New Zealand here, a radio from New Zealand contacted us. So there was like a lot of things happening out of a sudden after we moved these things online. I would like to mention also who were the ones who booked it, because we moved from open tours to a lot of private tours, and those were the big winners. Not only people who can't travel, but people who work remotely anyway. So we are doing still events nowadays for these companies, and you see quite of them are quite known. Repetitive events. So they are the ones who are already, they work with the technology, they work remotely. We also could see that there's a strong need to spread kindness, and we always liked to do charity events before in the city, but also now online. And I do not mean the events we did for the small world. That was also because I simply enjoy this community, but also others in other regions. You can see here school classes for schools that did not have much budget or no budget at all, US war veterans, COVID research centers. Travel Limitless is a company that was doing events or is doing events for people who have barriers, who can't travel anyway. So people with any type of handicap. A cancer foundation with even people dialing in from hospitals during the times of COVID. So it was really crazy events on one hand. On the other hand, we were of course quite happy to contribute. Student groups and a lot of NGOs that actually where we offered the event for free. We could also see a niche. That means we had a lot of doctors who started the event because our tour we did, the Plague Doctor, got some kind of attention. We focus now on what we can learn from the times of plague and how it helps us to understand better these crises we go through now. And we were surprised that people in times of pandemic book pandemic tours, but we also do it engaging with team Paul events and so on. Medical faculties, you can see those are the companies. They're quite known. They also booked the event because of our connection to the history of medicine. So we even could create a niche, and we updated our product 4 or 5 times. Why do I share with you this all? And it sounds like, well, everything went well for those people. I would like to remind you where we were coming from. We had nothing at all. We lost everything. It was a moment for us of darkness, and we realized we needed light in the dark. You can see a few pictures on the left-hand side. It is not my bathroom, because our bathroom was just half of the size, but it looks very similar. I lived 2 years ago, before when we still waited for a house, which we bought 3 years ago. We still here. I lived in 45 square meters. It was really nothing. We had a small boy, baby boy, who was firstly sleeping in the nights very well, but then waking up often after he was half a year old. And my first event for the headquarters of Google, I did with a virtual background with Zoom in the bathroom. If they would know, we would never get so far, of course. So that's the way how we actually started. And in the night times, the picture below is not me, to be honest, but it shows where I actually slept and my colleagues, because we were constantly busy. We focused on what is within our control, and I supported the team to find ways to work in night times, despite having daily jobs or despite having activities with families. So I supported them how we can arrange that to do the next event for Facebook in these companies. On the right-hand side, on the top side, on the right side, you see a person that is representing my wife, because Lucy, my wife, she bought noise-canceling headphones, and she says without them, she wouldn't survive. She also had to work from time to time, and I was constantly repeating the same things all over again. Sometimes it was crazy, 15 tours on a weekend. So therefore, and below you can see on the right side, VAT, value-added tax. I think it's a perfect symbol. We followed kind of our yellow line, so what we can do, but also value added. This is what we believed we do. So we could really support the society. We also did not want to consume, we wanted to create. We also wanted to spark this joy, as mentioned, as our core value. Are there some questions in the chat?
No, David, we can just go on.
Good. All right. So then I would like to share with you, just for those who are interested in the business type. So you can see here, you can see an overview of these, what's the revenues, and you can see that we earned 4 times more than before the crisis. And of course, no one would really believe that this would work. So the question is always, so how can we create a legacy? And it helped us a lot with this coaching approach because of these summaries. I will share some pictures later on, but here you can see how we actually, what we did. So identifying the values and follow our passion, that is something that were like buzzwords before times of crisis, but without the passion, we could see that it was really, we were really struggling. People changed their jobs in the times of crisis, a lot of things happened, and we actually focused on what is really truly what gives us joy and happiness. Be persistent, not to give up. If you think we were just the early ones, I can tell you, we had to change the product 4 or 5 times. No one had any idea how we can do technical good videos that we can share fluently through Zoom. Also, the persistency that we did not give up. We were stopped twice by the police in the city and sent home in the night times, even though we had a permission. So we had a lot of reasons not to do it and not to try it again. Focus on what's within your control. I mentioned that a few times earlier. Create and give and build your legacy, but build your legacy by giving and creating, and not by consuming and receiving. As an example, if you have your LinkedIn account, give recommendations, don't ask for them. Most of my clients I got over the past years as coach because I was giving them some things. I was helping them for free of charge, giving webinars, or also just giving them recommendations when I had good experience with them. I like the quote, absorb the useful and refuse the useless, which comes from a book of, which is actually a quote of a famous martial artist. So that is actually something that connects me to Wing Chun. And I did not practice that since a year by now, but it is something that still sticks to me because of my philosophy, which is that I really like to focus on what helps me in order to get through the times and refuse what is not really helpful. It sounds a bit egoistic, but it's a way of getting through times of crisis. And I help my clients to focus on what is within their control and what's without. And often they are distracted by things they can't control anyway. With that, I would like to hand over to a story from Hakan that helps us also to connect it from a metaphorical way.
Mhm.
Are you good to go, Hakan?
So we slowly also approach to the end of the whole presentation. We have 10 minutes to go. So the stories are always good because they cover so many things in once. And so the story I want to tell you is the story about two mugs. You know, the mug that you can go for water or you use it for your flowers. And so picture this. There was a man and he had a family. He was a poor man, and so he decided to buy for his family a piece of land with an old house far from the city. The land was poor, the soil was not very rich, but he was happy to have something on his own. Water was not on his land, and he had to go every day with the only two mugs that he had to the well of water. Every day, several times, he was going there and back with the jars, with the mugs. And he was very tired by that, but also he was very grateful that he could do it because he was living on his own and he was free. He was a free man. One day during the summertime, he was sitting after the long day under the tree close to his house, and he was with passion observing what they did, and he was very proud of that. All of a sudden, he hears a small voice. One of the mugs was talking to him, and the mug said, "Master, I am very sad." And the man said, "But dear mug, why are you sad? What's happening?" "Master, you go every day for water there and back, but I am leaking. I am an old mug. Look, my new friend, when you go for water and you come back, it's full. You bring it full of water, but I am leaking. And when you come back from the water spring, I am half empty. And you know that. And I'm very unhappy for this because I would like to help you better." The man keeps silence for a moment. He looks the jar and then he looks the path where they are walking every day for water. And he asks the jar, "My dear jar, just turn your head and have a look." And so he did. The mug turned to the path, and what he saw was this. On the left side, where his younger brother was walking with his master for water and back, it was empty. There were rocks and sand. But on the side, on the other side, where the master was walking all the time with that mug, there were plants and some flowers and the bees flying from one flower to another. And the man said, "So what do you see?" "I see, master, I don't understand this. This is dry and this is..." "Yes, this is your job because you were leaking. You put water on the ground, which was dry. And now this land became fruitful. And this will be the first year when me and my family, we will have our honey because there are so many flowers that we could even have a beehive." And so, what does this story tell us? We never know what's good and bad, and we never know what we can appreciate. And sometimes we would like to appreciate our strengths, but sometimes even the weaknesses can be the strengths, as the moment in the dark can turn out with the right perspective into something nice, beautiful, and something that will keep a legacy for a long time. So David, what's your legacy?
Thank you.
We have 5 minutes left.
Yes, yes, I know. So before we get to the legacy, well, I can share. Well, I think the legacy is, I think, a team that is proud to thrive in times of crisis, and through empowerment, that they were really the ones who actually decided on going that step all together. I think that was important for me to step back as a official leader and to become part of the team and to be there as a coach, more as a life coach. So I think the legacy is what the team has created. And that's why I also would like to give the words to the team that have done something together. We did that together as a team effort. We actually reached out to the Prague Film Festival, because there was a moment where we could actually create something for us that helped us to create the last piece I want to share as a coach, the belonging. Because belonging was very key and important for us to create a group that actually could stay connected in these difficult moments. And the belonging is something that actually we managed, I would say, and that is something to give to you as something, as the last thing probably, that we can make a difference if we give this kindness to the people that are important to us, and that we help them to create a team bonding and a way to stay connected, to exchange experience, to talk about the feelings, about the problems, but also to inspire each other and to help them up again. So this is something where I could see that's probably the legacy. We have done a documentary about us as night watchmen, because we did not want to forget about those. It's not only about the plague doctor we did, but also the night watchman. And we did a documentary sharing with each other what did we do at the times of crisis, but also why do we do that? And we did that with a coaching approach, and nothing was cut out. Everyone says what they truly believed. And I would like to share this small video with you. Before that, I just, as a small reminder, in case you have any questions or any, because in times of the difficult situations, the small world helped a lot. And I see that I'm connected with a lot of people supporting each other. So feel free to reach out to Harka and I if you see that you need some support to spread some light in the dark. And also if you feel like any type of coaching, happy to support you also. So let us know. And I would give the last words to them. There's a small link I will share later on with you to a very nice article about a performing team or high performance team. So this we can do later on. And I can also share with you later on a link through the network if you are interested to build your own online event, if you want to transition to online events, happy to support you there, because we developed some courses and I can you get into those even free of charge if you're interested. All right, good.
Beautiful, David. So if I'm right, we are slowly approaching the end, and people devoted us all the attention. So you have a movie, is it correct?
Yes, I will share the movie with you that you can see it. So you should be able to see now a black screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Now I have black screen.
Good. Let's start.
Sie nannten ihn immer den Schnurrbart-Opa. Mein Urgroßvater Johann Kies war im Jahre 1906 ursprünglich gelernter Maurer in dem kleinen Ort Niedermarsberg in Deutschland. Dort war er aber auch Totengräber und Nachtwächter und hat jede volle Stunde die Uhrzeit angesagt. Hört ihr Leut und lasst euch sagen. Ich würde gerne wissen, was er denken würde, wenn er uns hier sieht in Prag. Und auch, was er fragen würde.
A real connection to history. When you finish your work at the edge of that stone bridge and go and have a beer, you can think back to another man with his hat and halberd enjoying his beer. The same, just a few hundred years apart.
Pozdrav Pán Bůh. Uniformně, s halapartnou. Budíme za lidma celkem respekt. ale jsou i zvídaví. Často se mě ptají na můj původ. A nebo jenom na cestu. Ponosní zkrátka do starého města pražského patří. A nějaká ta zlatka v mém měšci na konci dne dokáže vykouzlit úsměv na tváři.
A possibilidade de educar e entreter pessoas, a mostrar a cidade que eu amo de uma perspectiva completamente diferente. Adoro quando explico que as pessoas deveriam beber 3 litros de cerveja por dia para manterem-se saudáveis e olham para mim com cara de chocados.
Pozdrav pánbů. Já jsem vyrůstal na Starém Městě a vždycky jsem si říkal, jaké by to asi bylo procházet Prahou o pár set let dřív. A díky Ponocnému se mi tohle částečně splnilo. Navíc ctíme tradice a tak se snažíme vychovávat i naše děti. Ty jsou mimochodem pyšné na to, že táta je ponocný.
Skupina lidí mě pozvala na posezení u piva. Oblíbený nápoj Čechů. A to se nedalo odmítnout.
Há grupo de 20 futebolistas que às 6 da tarde, quando a tour começou, já se encontravam ligeiramente tocados. Foi a primeira vez que eu tive grupo tão grande sozinho e estava bocadinho preocupado como é que as coisas iriam correr. Mas no final tudo correu bem, eles foram bastante curiosos e simpáticos e portaram-se bem e foram uma boa companhia.
Jednou jsem provázel českou skupinu a když jsme si povídali o Stavovském divadle, tak se jeden z přítomných zmínil, že tam večer zpívá a že by nás možná mohl zkusit dostat dovnitř. A opravdu podařilo se a celá skupina jsme se dostali skoro až na jeviště Stavovského divadla. A to byl hodně nevšední zážitek, protože do té doby jsem v zákulisí nikdy nebyl.
I once did a tour in a thunderstorm. I didn't think much of it until someone pointed out that a halberd is a giant lightning rod.
A apreciar a liberdade. Aprendi que eu não sou tão introvertido como eu antes pensava. Claro, gosto de passar tempo sozinho, mas começo a sentir a falta de interação humana.
I saw that people didn't really change. They are as social and talkative as ever before.
Nepít tolik piva, i když jsem ponocný.
A co mě naučil rok 2020? Že tady nejsme na pořád a že bychom měli žít svůj život naplno.
Good. Thank you so much for joining also from my side, and wishing you all the best. Stay strong to get through these days, and hope we will all can travel soon again wherever we want, and to make the small world even smaller.
So we are having a lot of thank you and thanks you. So we also thank you very much. We wish you a nice day, a nice morning, a nice night, wherever you are in the world. And we wish you a lot of light in your life.